Hello everyone, welcome back to the cottage. I'm Cheyenne with the Rosevine Cottage Girls, and today we are back at our dairy projects, and today it's feta cheese on the menu. So, let's get started. Feta cheese is another really easy one to make, so if you are new to cheese making and just dipping your toes in, this is a really good one to start with. I already got videos up on our homemade yogurt and our homemade cottage cheese. Both of those are super easy, and as we continue we'll go through some more cheese recipes that our family really loves, like a farmhouse cheddar and jack cheese and even pepper jack. But for now we're going to stick to our feta. You can use any milk you want, but traditionally a feta is made out of goat milk. So we are going to be using the goat milk from our herd. It's raw milk and very delicious. So we've got a gallon of that. We are going to need 1/4 cup of cultured buttermilk. We'll have a video up soon on how to make your own. You can also use mesophilic culture, but you'll have to buy that. I have 1/8 teaspoon of calf lipase. This is a strong one. You can get milder ones. Very important for developing your feta cheese. You can make feta cheese without this, but you will miss that traditional taste of a feta. And last but not least, we're going to need animal rennet, and we'll show you what to do with that. So let's get started. So we are going to add our gallon of milk to our pan and begin heating it to 86 degrees. We're just going to kind of keep it stirring so it doesn't stick or anything, but just warm it to 86, and once it's there, which it is now, we are going to add our cultured buttermilk or mesophilic culture. I'm using 1/4 of a cup for this batch. We are also going to add our calf lipase now. Get it all in there. Give it a good stir. Alright, we are going to turn the burner off, cover this up, and let it sit. We're going to let this sit covered for 1 hour to ripen and culture the milk, and then we will be back to add our rennet. Today's video is brought to you by us. Make sure you stop by rosevinecottagegirls.com/shop to check out our line of wonderful, luscious goat milk soaps. Our hour is up, and we are going to add our rennet. This is 1/8 teaspoon in some filtered water, and we're going to add that and stir for 15 seconds briskly. Alright, so the rennet is going to thicken and coagulate our cheese and form curds. Alright, so now that it's been mixed in, we're going to just slowly drag our spoon and kind of slow the movement of the milk just a little bit so it doesn't leave swirls through our milk. Cover again, and we're going to let this sit and do its thing. We're going to let this sit for 30 to 40 minutes until we get a clean break. I will show you what that looks like when we get there. But for now, go find something fun to do, get some laundry put in, or something useful, and we will be back then. Our timer has gone off, 30 minutes is up, and we are going to check this for a clean break. So we're looking for, when we insert our knife, the way to start backfilling the hole we've made. See right here, there's a clear separation between the solid mass of curd and the whey. So this is ready to go ahead and start slicing. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, just generally the same width. This will help to release the whey that is trapped in the mass of curd. going to do that the other direction. There we go. Alright. Now this is going to be our last way we cut this. And we're going to cut through the layers. Like that. It's okay if you miss them. You can cut them again once we start stirring. We're going to let this sit for 10 minutes to rest and let the curds firm up a little bit before continuing our cook down process to get these into an actual cheese form. Okay, 10 minutes is up and we can begin gently stirring. Now's a great time to go back and cut through any of the curds that you missed the first round. You're just going to gently stir, and you can use your spoon to break up any one of the curds that are a little big still, or you can use the knife again. You don't want to stir too much, but we are going to hold this at 86 degrees for 45 minutes and let it cook. So basically what you're doing is tightening up and toughening up the curds here. See how soft they are? And they'll just break apart really easy. They're quite jiggly. So we're going to cook this down a little bit so that the whey will release. The curds will begin toughening up, and it will be much more cheese-like, or if you're familiar with cheese curds that you can get at the store, it will become more of that texture. Alright, our timer is set for 45 minutes. We are going to give this a stir about every 10 minutes just so the curds don't stick back together. And then that we're just going to leave it alone, can keep it a consistent temperature and let it do its thing. Our cheese has cooked down for 45 minutes. The curds are much stiffer, as you can see. So we are going to strain them through a nice, clean, sterile tea towel. Cheesecloth will work. You can also use a clean pillow slip. Just going to dump our pan into our colander. Now I like to hang mine with a coat hanger. I'll just tie up this end and then sit this under a cabinet and use the hanger to hold it up so it can continue draining. This also gives me the opportunity to snag the whey to make ricotta, which we'll do in another video. So using a hanger, I'm going to hang this from a cabinet and let it hang for an hour. Once that's done, I'm going to take the cheese out, flip it, put it back in, and continue letting it hang overnight, and then it's ready to move on to its next step. Okay, so we're going to really quick pop this out, flip it over, just really gently, and then wrap it back up. This is going to sit overnight, and then we are ready to finish it in the morning. So we'll see you then. Alright, it's day 2, so we're going to go ahead and get this cut into a more usable size. You want to cut them in about 1 inch to 2 inch pieces. Alright. Now we're going to cut each one of these down just a little bit more. First, this is a great time to go ahead and salt your cheese. This is going to help to pull more of the whey out. So I'm using a pink Himalayan sea salt. And you're just going to liberally salt both sides of each piece. You'll begin to notice that more and more liquid is appearing on your cutting board. That's okay, it's totally normal. And once we're done cutting these, we're going to put them in a nice airtight container and let it sit on the counter for about 2 to 3 days to harden up and finish pulling the whey out before we brine it. You want to be sure to leave them that long because if you brine them too early, they'll soften.
And we're just going to cube all of these little pieces. It doesn't look like much right this second, but I only used a gallon for this batch, and typically I'll use 2 or 3 gallons to make a much larger batch. And occasionally we'll leave out the calf-light paste powder and just stop at this stage because this is a delicious melting cheese and great for fresh eating. It ends up quite like a bread cheese. And we'll use it in anything we'd use, like a jack or a mild cheddar in. And it's a great way to turn around and have fresh cheese very quickly, especially if you are big cheese consumers and have a lot of milk on hand. A lot of times this is the cheese I'm making every week. But from here it will become a much drier, more crumbly cheese like a traditional feta. It's all in the process. Alright, this is ready to go in our container. You can use a quart jar. I'm just going to use a Tupperware because I've got that handy. And we're just going to let it sit for 2 to 3 days. And then we are ready to move it to its next stage. There we go. Alright, we have 1.3 ounces of pink Himalayan salt that I'm going to dissolve in some hot water. And while that is doing that, I'm going, this is another batch of cheese we did the other day, we're going to take this, weigh included, and transfer them to clean, sterile jars. You can just use your hand or a spoon, whatever you got. I'm just going to pour the leftover away and split it between the jars. Oops. Preferably don't spill it down the back. Alright, so this has been curing and hardening up on the counter for 3 days. You need to be very careful before putting the brine in because if you do it too early, it will soften up your curds and it won't make that delicious feta, and it will not store as long. Alright, so we are going to mix this once dissolved, or darn near dissolved, into 3 cups of cooler than room temperature water. So we added a couple of ice cubes. This is filtered water. You don't want to use your chlorinated tap water for this. Alright, that's just appropriate. And you just dump it in. Alright, give it a quick stir, and we're going to pour it over our feta. Just like that. There we go. We're going to put lids on these and stick them in our fridge for a week to develop their flavor. And then from there you can put them in oil with herbs or mix them with sun-dried tomatoes and any of those traditional feta flavors that you'll pick up at the store. You can do that with. They make delicious gifts. And they're going to store for quite a while, so you are good to go.
Alright, so this is all ready to be sitting in your fridge, and as always the description has got all the links you're going to need to make this and tons of resources, so make sure you check it out before you leave, and we'll see you next time at the cottage.